75% of all medical professionals in India get attacked at least once in their life.
How did you identify all these functionalities a doctor needs?
3 nurses who were rolling me in Operation Theatre, they were all in Knya. I went to work 3 months post-delivery.
3 months? Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Founders podcast. Our guest for today is somebody who's building not where the trends are, but for an unspoken, quiet community that is the medical industry. At the intersection of medicine, fashion and motherhood, Vanshika Kaji, the co-founder of Knya, is going to share her insights about this world. Hi Vanshika, how are you doing today?
Hi, Inal, doing good. What an introduction.
Yeah, I think that's what I took away when I got to know more about you. And that's what we're going to dissect into this episode of the Founders podcast. So let's get started. My first question to you is, why this industry gap? What drove you to building for this space?
Honestly, because nobody else cares.
That's a true fact.
Right? And we've seen brands in the past, like I think Nike was one of the first to really think of athletes around the world, right?
Yeah.
And then they build a strong brand to really celebrate athletes all across the world. And I think in some sense, that's what we are trying to do with medical professionals, right? So far, they've not had a brand to really connect with, a brand that they can resonate with, a brand that they can lean on. And I think through Knya, we're basically trying to do that by giving them functional and stylish medical apparel.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the current sector of the medical apparel industry is extremely unorganized.
Yeah.
There are no brands as we speak.
Yeah.
So when there was not that sort of a demand pull as well, you still found this industry niche. So how did you identify it, or what was it that drove you towards it?
So honestly, I'll tell you, just one thing just led to the other. It's not something where we woke up and said that we're going to do this one fine day. I did my undergrad from an arts college called LaSalle College of the Arts. We had to do a graduation project, which was basically about launching a brand.
Okay.
Could it be any brand? That's when I thought of Knya, and we launched a workwear brand for women. And I started really building up Knya. So got it registered, really started it ground up. We were a team of 3 people, and I was running that. It was scaling well. I ran that for 2 years. And that's when I met Abhijit. And right after we got married, which is December 19, March 20, COVID hit.
Yes.
And everything came to a standstill. Most important question at that time is, why am I building a brand for working women when there's nobody really going to office and working? So who is going to buy this? And we were at home for a week. Abhijit was at that time working with the private equity fund.
Okay.
So he was doing calls from home. He was busy. And that's when a friend of Abhijit's called from the US saying that, there's this thing called PPE. And at that time, Hinal, if you Google PPE, there was nothing.
Yeah.
Like the word did not exist.
Yeah.
I mean, right now there's like so much and everybody knows, and we're just sick and tired of hearing that word. But at that time, like nobody knew about it. He called saying that, Vanshika is a 4th generation textile entrepreneur. She'll have some knowledge. I know she has a factory space. Why doesn't she do this? Because it'll help the community, because it's in such shortage in India.
Yeah.
And I was just like, okay, let me just figure. And I think we took about 4 to 5 days to figure out the entire supply chain. And a week into it, we were manufacturing. And our first order actually went to the BMC. So actually BMC's first order came to us. For the supply of PPEs, and we did that for 2 years, which was honestly the toughest 2 years of our lives. And then post-COVID died. We were just like, okay, now what do? We've built these connections with hospitals. We speak to so many medical professionals, but PPEs is not something that's going to stay here forever. It's not something we want to do all our lives. So we got into hospital consumables, bed sheet, disposable sheets, etc. It's not something that excited us at all.
Fair.
And then because we were speaking to so many medical professionals, we kept hearing the word scrubs. And then we got one order from a dental college for scrubs. And then because I had experience in clothing and in apparel and fabrics, sort of created this so-called scrub at that time, and made it into more of a fashionable product and supplied it to the college, and they were happy. And we were just like, okay, let's just list it on Amazon and see like if there are random, if there are other medical professionals buying it. And we did that and it sold.
Oh.
And we were just like, this is something that medical professionals want to buy.
Yeah.
And then we started our website, and I think it was no stopping from then. So really it's just something like stars align, it's one thing led to the other.
Yeah. I think what an interesting journey, because you started fashion, you rebranded, you pivoted, got married, started a life there as well, got your husband to work with you.
Yeah.
So how is that as a, you being a single founder to now having a co-founder? Was that difficult for you?
So Abhijit joined me at the very beginning of me pivoting to the medical space, because I remember there was this one time when, very scarring at that time, but now when I say it out, it's funny, because we'd taken up an order from a hospital, a large number of PPEs, and they really needed it because that was the need of the hour. And my fabric had not left Nasik.
Oh.
And I was to deliver to them 2 days later. And there was so much pressure coming. And I walked up to Abhijit, and he was on an investor call, and I was just like, shut it. Like, shut it now. Like, I'm not doing this by myself, because everyone's calling me up. I'm managing the factories. I'm managing the entire supply chains. If you look at my phone, I have like 100 truck drivers' numbers on my phone, because all I was doing is talking to truck drivers and hospital purchase managers. And then I remember this moment very clearly where Abhijit, who's my husband and co-founder, and his parents and I got into the room, and we were just like, he has to join me. Like, there's no other way. Like, I can't do this on my own.
How is it working with your husband?
I think it's amazing.
Yeah?
I think I'd highly recommend it to anyone starting a business or looking for a co-founder.
Yeah.
They always say, right, the person you marry is the best decision you'll make in your life, and the most important decision you'll make in your life. And I think, touch wood, I've gotten it right.
Yeah, you got an investor.
Because I think the skill sets that Abhijit have, I just don't have.
Yeah.
Like, I just couldn't have done what he does today in the company. And I think same goes the other way around, right? And I think we really complement each other.
Nice.
And I think one thing, the biggest reason why companies fail is because of co-founder disputes, right?
Yes.
And I think one thing that helps being a husband-wife duo is that your incentives are just so aligned.
Yeah.
Right? Money's coming in to your house, for your kids, for your family.
That's true.
Responsibilities are there. That sense of ownership is there. You understand each other so well. Like today, if I need to leave early to take care of a family member at home or to be with my kids, Abhijit understands because he's also my husband. So he knows what I'm going through. And I think the co-parenting,
co-founders, co-parenting.
Yeah, it all just works.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I think you're very beautifully doing it. And yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of such businesses that have been husband-wife first. They've really, really took off. I think what you said is that the compatibility issue. Because so I had a co-founder previously and we faced a lot of compatibility issues. It didn't work, so had to move parts because I think it was the right decision to make.
And I'll give you a very small example, right? When I was pregnant with our kids and I was on bed rest, I was working from home and Abhijit was going physically. It was a tough time for him, right? To leave me at home and go, but somebody has to show up and do the work. And whatever I was doing at that time also sort of came on him a little bit. And they would go to him being like, okay, this is the problem, what do we do? And it was very easy for him to sort of make that decision at that moment, right? But he would just respond saying, let me think about it, discuss it with Vanshika and get back.
That's nice.
Right? And whether he doesn't discuss, whether I'm the state at that time to even hear him and help him out, I don't know. But just the fact that he used to say that out loud to the employees used to make the employees feel that, okay, Vanshika's yet there. She's yet going to bounce back. and she's yet the decision maker.
So moving a little into, you becoming a mother in this entire journey now and having this, so I'm sure it must be difficult to set boundaries. Or
It's really tough.
I think I had to stop my question seeing your reaction. I know.
It's just overall really tough. And somebody recently I met and they were just like, oh, you were 30 under 30 and
Yes.
2 under 30. And it took me a second to be like, okay, what is that? And I was just like, yeah, like managing work where you
Yes.
get that recognition as well as having 2 kids under 30
Yeah.
was
I think
a
it's
very big
commendable.
challenge.
I'm 27, still hoping that I can
Yeah.
reach that stage.
I went to work 3 months post delivering, right? The first Monday I was at work.
3
And
months?
3 months post delivering.
Sorry, I took a second to take that. 3 months. Wow.
Yeah. The first Monday I was at work, and at that time I remember even my own mother asking me like, oh, like,
Yeah, like, are
why are
you,
you going to
like, yeah.
work? Like, what's wrong with you? And like, you should be at home, and
Yeah.
whatever time you do, get rest. She wasn't wrong, right? She's not wrong in saying that I need to rest whatever time if I'm getting
Yeah.
off. But then how do you work? Because
Yeah.
if you're out of work for 7 months on bed rest, I mean, I was yet working, but not physically. And then 3 months of post kids, that's already like almost a year.
Yeah.
How much more time can you really take off? And I really feel like longer you take off, the chances of you bouncing back are less and less.
Yeah.
Because things move so fast, the company grows so fast.
Your
Technology
priorities also
moves,
change.
your priorities
right?
change,
Yeah.
your mindset changes. So if you don't bounce back, which is really tough in that moment to do, is just,
Yeah.
I was just scared I'll get left behind.
Yeah.
And it wasn't from a sense of ambition, it was more from a sense of knowing that I need something of my own.
Yeah.
Because
that
when
belonging
kids
for
are
yourself.
going to school, when kids are, going to go to college, what am I going to do then?
Yeah.
I need to be able to tell my kids, or my kids need to know that, okay, mama created something,
Nice. I also read, I think your most recent post on LinkedIn spoke about how you're the first customer of every retail
Yeah.
store. Like, what's the intent behind you being the first customer of every
I think a
retail
little
store?
bit of superstition, a little bit
Yeah.
of like, because I have the best intention for the brand,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I'm just like, let my card be the first one to swipe.
I mean, it's
there.
been working for you.
And then let's see how it goes. So far, it's been working. But every location is different. It comes with its own challenges. So really just store by store being like, okay, how can I make it better for the next store?
Yeah.
And I think that's very tough to do sitting back in Bombay.
Yeah.
But also now it's getting very challenging to travel because, for example, I just went to Vadodara
Yeah.
for the store launch literally 4 days back. And a lot of these smaller cities, they have flights at like 4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And which means you're waking up at like 2:33,
Yeah.
going to the airport. Vadodara's flight back was at 9:30, which meant that I'm going to miss time with the kids. So then I had to drive 2.5 hours to Ahmedabad and then take the flight out from Ahmedabad just so that I can make it for reading time with kids.
How cute.
So it's just, as I said, it's a lot of just managing
Yeah.
and juggling.
It's a lot of juggling.
Yeah, it's a
like, I
lot
don't
of
know how you're doing
juggling.
it. Kudos to you, honestly.
Yeah.
I think, we as young founders cry about such stupid things that, oh, I party too hard and I need one more night, like proper night of sleep. But did you always want to have a brand first approach? Why is that? Because it's an unorganized industry. Brands didn't matter.
We've all grown up with brands,
Yeah.
right? We've been surrounded by brands.
But do doctors care about brands?
Now they do because we've made them care about a brand. Because now, I mean, I'll tell you something very small, right? And I think this is one moment which suddenly was like, okay, maybe we've
The
really...
aha moment.
Yeah, the aha moment, because, we have like a Knya label on the pocket
Yes.
of our scrubs. And in the beginning when we started, we saw a lot of hesitance. Being like, okay, why is this label there? We don't want to endorse, another company. Why should we like wear that? And something Abhijit and I always decided was like, no, we'll stick with that. If people are hesitant, let them come around maybe later.
Yeah.
or not wear it, but I think it's important to have that there for a brand. A year and a half back, we got a call on our customer service number saying, oh, I bought a pair of Knya scrubs, but it doesn't have the tag.
Oh.
So can you exchange it for a scrub that has the tag?
Oh, okay.
Because maybe it was a production error, maybe a piece went out without the tag.
Got it.
And we were just like, okay,
Yeah.
you know, tables have turned now where people want to sort of be like, okay, I'm wearing a Knya scrub, and they want to show that they're wearing a Knya scrub.
That's a sense of
It's
belonging.
that sense of belonging, that sense of pride, that sense of I'm in the Knya community.
Yeah. I was just going to ask you that, like,
Yeah.
D2C is a buzzword. As a doctor, they barely get time. So do they even get the space to come to a retail store and buy? Like, why did you decide to do
So it
retail?
all depends on how close it is, right? If it's like on the way back home, on the way to their PG, then it's very easy for
So
them
you've
to just
identified
stop.
these hotspots
Yeah.
and then you've put your stores there. Don't you think online would be more profitable?
Honestly, all of our stores from day one have been profitable,
Oh.
and they pay back capex in 3 to 4 months.
Oh, wow.
So
That's amazing.
I think I think retail is just something you have to figure out what works for you.
Yes.
The concept that we have gone for is working for us, which is being located very close to hospitals. We have small 250 to 350 square feet stores. These are not situated in like high streets and malls or anything, because a doctor or a nurse does not have time to step into a mall.
Yes.
So it has to be like on the street. Like the one that we opened just now in Vadodara is actually next to a tire shop.
Oh.
So it's as raw as that, but it doesn't matter, because all that matters is the convenience of the
And the accessibility.
and
of
the
it.
accessibility.
Fair enough. So what content did you do that helped you make the sense of belonging with doctors? Because there are so many myths and it's not an easy career.
Yeah.
So what was the content? How were you sensitive around the content that you put out to actually cater to this community?
We realized very early on in our journey that even though we're in a non-sexy category like uniform, self-expression actually plays a really big part.
Yeah.
Right? Especially with like the younger medicos coming in.
Yeah.
They want to look good. They want to look fashionable. This is all they're wearing really.
Yeah.
Right? They want like trending colors. So we actually follow like all like Pantone color of the year and like you know, we're really
vibrant
on
colours.
trend.
Yeah,
We're really on trend, because I feel like that's the only way they can express themselves.
Nice.
They have to wear a scrub, right? Now, what can you do with that obvious product and sort of turn it around to make it something more relatable, more fashion centric? Because we've been wanting to build a brand first approach, content played a really big part. Like, because content is not easy.
Yeah.
And obviously, because we're not a part of the medical fraternity, it's very tough to really understand the issues that they go through, or the problems, or the small like inside jokes that they have, because you're not a part of it.
Yeah.
So we actually have a group of like 10 medical consultants who work with us.
Oh, nice.
And we have like calls with them every month to sort of just understand, okay, what's going on. Like a very small insight that we got recently from one of them is that there's this joke about how medical professionals keep losing their pens. Like all the time, and like seniors will like steal the juniors' pens.
Yeah.
So one small thing that we've done recently, and actually will be rolling out for the next 1 month, is that we've gotten a pen, Knya branded, with like a very cool like slogan on it, and we're just sending it across with all our orders as a free gift, and it just has a one-liner saying, "Because we know you keep losing them."
How cute.
Right? And the whole idea is that, you know, the first impression to be like, okay, Knya understands us. They know like that we keep losing it. So I think it's really just identifying these small things and then playing around it.
Yeah.
And using it as like, not just as a leverage, but really, honestly, I think we are so much in awe of what they do.
Yeah. No, I think while I'm talking to you, I'm just like, wow. Like, you know, you're really giving them a space to feel, because it is not easy. And we hear such sad stories at times about how doctors are treated and how the stuff they have to go through. Like during COVID, they didn't get a chance to say, I want to work from home. They had to just show up.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I remember when I was talking to my friend, she was a student and she had prepared her family saying, if I get a call, I have to go. And that's it. There's no questions asked. It's any such certain like specific incidences that have happened which has shaken you up or probably made you feel like, okay, no, this industry is, I mean, you started in it. I understood how you started because it was an opportunity that came at your door. But now you're building more.
You know, two stats that really stuck around with Abhijit and me was that 75% of all medical professionals in India get attacked at least once in their life.
Oh, what?
They get attacked at least once in their life. 75%.
That's a very high number.
It's a very high number.
And get attacked, like,
Yes.
see? Wow.
Yes. And second is that the average life expectancy of a doctor or a medical professional is 59 as compared to a non-doctor, which is 71.
Yeah. Is it because of the work they do?
The work that they do, the hours they put in, the stress that they go through. Medical professional mental health is a thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, you and I sitting in this room today cannot even imagine the state of mental health. Today, it's very easy for me to sort of sit in this room and talk about the sacrifices or compromises I'm making for my kids, right? Taking like early flights, etc. But it's nothing compared to what medical professionals do.
I think you're very, very right that they sacrifice a lot more and do a lot more. And I think now I get why brand first. I think they needed a space to feel belonged over being like, yo, wear your scrubs and go. How in the industry that you're in and the product that you've created, fit, functionality, aesthetics, all are important. Fashion industry is like all about what makes me look the bestest. But I think for you, it's more about what keeps you functional. So how did you identify all these functionalities a doctor needs? Or is there anything that your scrubs give which maybe enhances their experience by just 5% or 10%?
Yeah. So I think all the insights were simply by just speaking to as many medical professionals as we could. Like I think when we were going through the product development phase, Abhijit and I combined must have spoken to like 500 medical professionals at that time. Just understanding their life, just understanding their pain points, just understanding what matters to them the most. And the product is basically just centered around them. It's also, I think, like, for example, we got a phone call a year back from a Saudi doctor who wears a turban. And he said, you know, all of your scrubs are V-neck. Now, the problem for him was that every time he had to get into a V-neck scrub, he had to remove his turban. And then wear the scrub and then tie his turban again, which is really painful because a V-neck scrub doesn't have like a button or anything to open, right? It's just your neck that fits into that shape. And so then we were just like, okay, how do we solve this now? And then that's when we launched our Mandarin collar scrubs.
Oh, nice.
So it's sort of, you know, everything sort of is like a solution to what they need.
Yeah.
We recently, 6 months back, also launched medical hijabs.
I was just going to say that, you know, culturally also, you'll have to cater to all the different sort of diversities that India has because people have these requirements. That's very interesting. So we were actually the first brand in India, first to really launch medical hijabs for hijab-wearing women. Yeah.
And it's super functional. We have, you know, gaps on both sides where they can plug in their stethoscope without removing their hijab.
Nice.
Because the usual norm was that they would tie a scarf around, you know, attach it with safety pins and all. And that was very like troublesome and it would come in the way. And then we just sort of found that solution.
Nice. I think with your products, I think they get 5 minutes more. You know, getting ready is also becoming simpler. So at least you get 5 more minutes, right?
100%.
I think the impact that you can create can be threefold. A question out here. As a mompreneur, do you have spaces where you feel the guilt?
Oh, guilt is real.
Yeah.
It's so real. But it's something that honestly, it takes time to get better at it. It's just, I think, waking up every day and being like, okay, what is important? Or actually not what's important to me, but what does the day demand of me?
Yeah.
if it demands me coming over here to shoot with you, so be it. If it demands me going to my kids' preschool to meet the teachers, so be it. I mean, I have twins, a girl and a boy, Dev and Tara. And after a tough day at work, when you go back to them, as tough as it is, because you're so tired and exhausting, and it's two toddlers going through terrible twos together, but just that one smile, that one hug, that one, shout out is just, it just changes
makes your day.
everything. It just makes your day. Because I had twins, my pregnancy was really tough. Like really, really tough. I was on bed rest for like 7 months, out of which I spent like 3 months in the hospital.
Oh my God.
So it was just a really tough phase, and I was working from home throughout. That's when we were going through rebranding, because the Knya logo and everything looked a lot different earlier, because it was me doing something like on Canva, during COVID, because that's when it started. And we had to then professionalize it and get better branding and better logo. So that happened while I was on bed rest. The first store launched as soon as I delivered. So I was working on the stores, going on sites while feeding both my kids.
You had two babies launched at the same time.
Three,
sorry.
That. When you're going through it, it's so tough. But later, it's just like, dude, I did that. And you feel good. And I remember when I was delivering my kids, it was a C-section. So I was being taken, rolled into the operation theatre. And the 3 nurses who were rolling me in, so they were in front of me because you're lying down, they were all in Knya. And then I entered the OT, and of course you're like full of anxiety and you're in pain, you've got the epidural, and you're just so anxious and everything. And I saw, and I was just like, dude, like 80% of this room is in Knya.
How did that feel?
It just feels like you've made an impact. And I think that's what keeps you going. When I was running the workwear brand for women, I was doing it, I loved it, but I think I didn't see any real change. But today, when I see medical professionals wearing it, I feel like, okay, there's a change, there's an impact, there's a purpose for me to keep going.
Nice.
And I think that's what sort of drives us every day.
I think impact does for me as well. I've pivoted, trying to figure out impact and keep saying that, and I love that impact is more like the focus of the business over. I think money comes. Money will always come. It'll find its way to come. But if you create an impact on a person, I think that lasts much longer. That's so interesting. You're walking into your own, room where you're going to be giving birth to your kids and you're seeing your brand around you.
It was like, very cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It's like you had your brand with you. What's the one thing you've had to let go between balancing the babies at office and the babies at home?
Me.
I
think no sense of self-time, self-care, zero. It's really become zero. And I'm hoping I get back to it soon now, because now the kids are growing a little older.
No, I think it's bold for you to even say that. Not everybody kind of puts that thought out there as well. I have another question now for you. As manufacturing delays, inventory chaos, or your baby not sleeping at night, what's tougher to handle?
Inventory not coming on time. It's so stressful.
You guys have 160 SKUs. How did you manage that?
Honestly, it takes an army, right? We have an ops team of about 15 people today.
Okay.
And we're very, very ops heavy, right? Because between our D2C website, our stores, which are expanding every month, and our B2B, right? There's a lot of ops involved. And we do custom engraving for our stethoscope, we do custom embroidery for our scrubs. So to figure that supply chain out at scale is very, very challenging.
What were the 3 key things that you looked at before you set up your retail store that helped you get the sales?
I think the 3 most important things are location. Really. Actually, Siddharth Bindra from Biba.
Okay.
I called him up. He's one of my mentors from a very young age when I started Knya. And I called him up saying that, you've expanded and you do retail and you're a retail first brand. how can I get this right? And he said, Vanshika, there are 3 things: location, location, location. You get that right and you have it figured. Honestly, that's been the mode. That's something that we've realized is the most important. And we're sitting on data, right? So what helps us in the decision making for retail locations is that we're already sitting on online data of customers, and we know by pin code where we're getting the orders from.
Nice.
So we just really just map it out,
Right.
and be like, okay, where is the hospitals and where are these pin codes and who is ordering, what is the quantity, and then we just find locations around that.
Nice, that's interesting. I think you used your data.
We're
in the
very
smartest.
data-driven.
Yeah. For me, I still believe that I want to make my business before I start my personal life, because I consider those 2 things separate. But you've beautifully married those 2 and still been able to go back to work. What is the one message you want to leave for people who are watching, probably hustling in whichever journey that they are?
I think the only thing I can say is don't wait for yourself to accomplish one thing before you get onto the other, right? Let it just like happen, you know. You can be married and yet run a business. You can have kids and yet run a business. You can have kids and yet take care of 80-year-old grandparents. You can be doing everything. You can be married and yet exploring the world, going for solo trips, trekking. Like, why do we need to wait for one phase to get over before the other one starts, right?
Thank you. And the first time I heard about your brand also, I was inspired. And today you have left me in awe. You know, maybe probably rethinking the impact I'm creating, because it takes a lot to build for the industry that you are. And you're actually doing something, you're giving back to them, which I don't think any of us can. So thank you for doing that. And I really, really can't wait to see Knya like all around the world.
Thank you. Thank you. Really enjoyed.
Yeah.
It was a very casual, chill conversation. So thank you for having me.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one.